all over the world, there are things that are not just expensive or rare. There are also some that are extremely valuable, extremely dangerous, or extremely sacred. That's why it's almost impossible for just anyone to get close to them. Some of them are guarded by security and high-tech sensors. Others are protected by the entire government and military forces. The big question here is, what could these be? And in this video, we will discuss things that are heavily protected and guarded by people. So let's get started. Number 1, the Black Stone of Mecca. In the center of the most important place in Islam, there is a small but very sacred stone that has been visited by millions of people for a long time. This is the Black Stone, also known as Al-Hajar al-Aswad. You can find it at the corner of the Kaaba in Masjid al-Haram, the most sacred mosque in Islam. The stone itself is not that big. It is estimated to be around 12 inches wide. It has a dark color and is surrounded by a silver frame. But even though it is small, it is one of the most important religious objects in the world. According to Islamic tradition, the stone is said to have come from heaven. There are also beliefs that it was once white but turned black because of the sins of people. Many Muslims also believe that Prophet Muhammad himself placed it in the Kaaba when the structure was rebuilt in the early 7th century. During the Hajj pilgrimage, millions of Muslims from different countries go to Mecca. And one of the most important parts of the pilgrimage is circling the Kaaba. Because of this, many pilgrims try to touch or kiss the black stone while circling. And because so many people go there at the same time every year, security in the area is very strict. According to reports from international media like BBC and Al Jazeera, Saudi Arabia's Hajj security operation is one of the largest security deployments in the world. Thousands of police, military personnel, surveillance systems, drones, and crowd control teams are deployed to ensure the safety of the pilgrims and to protect the area. Throughout its long history, the Black Stone has been damaged and lost pieces several times. In the 10th century, according to historical records, it was stolen by an extremist group and was missing for more than 20 years before it was returned to Mecca. Because of the damage that happened in the past, the stone today is made up of several fragments that have been put together and placed in a silver frame. And even though millions of people see it every year, it still remains one of the most protected religious objects on the planet. Because for many people, this is not just an ordinary stone. It is a part of faith, history, and the faith, history, and identity of a huge part of the world. Number 2, the Hope Diamond. At first glance, it just looks like a beautiful blue diamond. But the Hope Diamond is one of the most famous and most controversial gemstones in the world. It weighs about 45.5 carats. It is one of the largest blue diamonds ever discovered in history. Today, it can be seen at the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., where millions of people visit every year just to see it in person. But it's not just the beauty of the diamond that made it famous. For more than 300 years, stories have spread that it supposedly brings bad luck or a curse. According to historical records, the diamond was first obtained from India in the 17th century before it ended up in France. Eventually, it became part of the French crown jewels and was owned by the royal family of France. When the French Revolution came in 1792, the diamond was stolen and disappeared for many years before it reappeared in Europe looking different because it had been recut to a smaller size. That's when stories about its curse began to grow. Some former owners were said to have gone bankrupt, had their lives ruined, or suffered terrible tragedies. One of the most frequently mentioned are King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette of France, who were both beheaded during the Revolution. But according to many historians, a large part of the curse story was just exaggerated by the media and jewel dealers back then to make the diamond even more famous. Even so, until now, many are still attracted to its mystery. In 1958, the jeweler Harry Winston donated the diamond to the Smithsonian Museum. Surprisingly, it was just sent using ordinary mail service in America in a simple brown package. Now, its security is on a whole different level. It is inside thick, bulletproof glass. There are motion sensors, cameras, and armed security personnel guarding it all day. The light and temperature around it are also controlled to maintain the diamond's condition. But one of its weirdest characteristics is this. When hit by ultraviolet light, it suddenly emits a bright red glow, a blue diamond that shines red in the dark. And for many visitors, that's the reason why it looks even more mysterious. Number 3, the nuclear football. There is a briefcase in the world that can never be left behind. It's not full of money, gold, or a company's secret documents. Inside, it is something that can start a nuclear war. This is what's called the President of the United States' nuclear football. It is officially known as the Presidential Emergency Satchel. It is a heavy leather briefcase that is always carried by a military officer who almost never leaves the side of the President of the United States. Whether the President is in the White House, on a plane, in a meeting, at a state dinner, or even on vacation, the briefcase is always there. According to reports from CNN and BBC, special military aides are assigned to carry it. They go through extremely strict background checks, psychological evaluations, and a rigorous security clearance process before being selected. It's also not just any ordinary soldier who handles it. They are trained to remain ready at all times. Because if there is a nuclear attack against America, the president may only have a few minutes to make a decision. And this is where the importance of the nuclear football comes in. Many people think that there is literally a red button inside it that immediately launches nuclear missiles. But according to former military officials and public reports, the process is not that simple. The briefcase reportedly contains communication equipment, authentication codes, emergency records, procedures, and pre-planned military response options. Simply put, this is the president's mobile command system in case of a nuclear emergency. If necessary, the president can give orders from anywhere in the world, even if he's on a plane, in an underground bunker, or in the middle of a trip. What's alarming here is that it's not kept in a vault at night. It needs to stay close to the president almost all the time, because according to America's military doctrine, any nuclear threat could arise at any moment. And in this kind of situation, it's not enough to wait for a few more hours. So ever since the time of President John F. Kennedy, after the Cuban Missile Crisis, in 1962, this has become a permanent part of America's presidential security system. The Cuban Missile Crisis was one of the most dangerous moments of the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union almost went to nuclear war. That's when the American government realized that the president needed a way to immediately give orders, no matter where he was. And until now, military aides still carry that briefcase every day. On the outside, it just looks like an ordinary bag. But inside it are systems and procedures that could affect the whole world in just a few minutes. Number 4, the Coca-Cola recipe. Of all the secrets in the world, one of the most famous isn't about the military spies or government weapons. It's a recipe for a soft drink. But according to the Coca-Cola Company, the formula for Coca-Cola is one of the most closely guarded trade secrets in the history of the business world. This has been talked about for over 100 years, and even now many still believe that only a few people truly know its exact formula. At the World of Coca-Cola in Atlanta, Georgia, there is a special vault that is said to hold documents containing Coca-Cola's original recipe. When you see the vault, it looks like a scene from a high-security movie with thick steel doors, high-tech security systems, controlled access areas, and 24-hour surveillance. But what's more interesting here is that they're not just protecting the recipe, they're also protecting the mystery. For many decades, the idea that this is a secret formula that's almost impossible to know has been part of Coca-Cola's marketing. There's a long-standing story that only 2 executives know the entire recipe at any given time, and they're supposedly not allowed to travel on the same plane. But according to many business analysts, this is possibly just part of corporate myth to further strengthen the brand's image. Because in reality, according to some food chemists and industry experts, it's possible to analyze the ingredients using modern laboratory technology. But even so, the value of the secret still remains. Because for Coca-Cola, a big part of the product's success is the story behind it, the feeling that there's a mysterious secret not everyone knows. And that's the reason why, even now, The security around the recipe vault is still extremely tight, not just to guard the formula, but to keep alive one of the most famous business legends of modern times. Number 5, the Mask of Tutankhamun. Of all the treasures from ancient Egypt, there's one thing that almost anyone can recognize, even people who aren't interested in history: a golden face of the young king. This is the funerary mask of Pharaoh Tutankhamun. For many historians and archaeologists, this is not just a simple ancient artifact. It is one of the most important symbols of the entire Egyptian civilization. The mask is made of approximately 11 kilograms of solid gold and is adorned with precious stones such as lapis lazuli, obsidian, turquoise, and other colored materials that give it its unique details. But what's even more surprising is that it is over 3,000 years old. It was discovered in 1925 by the expedition of Howard Carter in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. It was placed directly on the mummy of Tutankhamun inside his tomb. And since it was discovered, it has become one of the most famous archaeological discoveries in modern history. Tutankhamun himself became pharaoh at a young age and is believed to have died when he was still a teenager. Even though he wasn't the most important ruler of Egypt back then, he became very famous because his tomb is the most famous. It's one of the few tombs that was found almost intact and not heavily looted by treasure hunters. And out of all the things found there, the golden mask became the center of attention for the whole world. Now you can see it at the Grand Egyptian Museum near the Giza pyramids. According to Egyptian government officials, the museum was specially built to protect and properly display Egypt's ancient treasures, especially Tutankhamun's collection. Security around the mask is extremely tight. It is kept inside a climate-controlled and bulletproof glass case. The light, humidity, and temperature are also controlled to prevent damage to the thousands of years-old artifact. There is also restricted visitor flow in the gallery to prevent the risk that too many people around it might cause. And according to reports from Reuters and BBC, Egypt's position is clear. They will no longer readily lend the mask to other countries after several past controversies. This is about bringing Egyptian artifacts to international exhibits. For Egypt, this is not just a piece of gold. This is the face of their history. This is the face of ancient Egypt itself. Number 6, the Shroud of Turin. There is an old cloth in Italy that up to now is still being debated by scientists, historians, and religious experts. For some, this is one of the most sacred relics in Christianity. For others, it is possible that this was only made during the Middle Ages. This is what is called the Shroud of Turin. It is a long linen cloth with a faint image of a man with wounds that resemble the injuries caused by crucifixion. It is also said that the image shows marks that resemble wounds from the crown of thorns. Because of this, many Christians believe that this is the burial cloth of Jesus after the crucifixion. But until now, there is still no final answer as to whether it is genuine or not. The cloth is kept in the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist in Turin, Italy, and is under the care of the Vatican. Its security is very strict. It is placed in a special sealed case with controlled temperature and protection against fire, humidity, and contamination. Its enclosure is also bulletproof, and most of the time it is not always shown to the public. There are times when decades pass before it is brought out again for pilgrims and visitors to see. One of the reasons why it is so important is the mysterious image on the cloth. According to some researchers, it is not a simple painting or an ordinary drawing. For many years, different scientists have tried to study how the image was formed, but there is still no clear answer accepted by everyone. In 1988, 3 laboratories conducted a radiocarbon dating test. The results showed that the cloth may have been made during the medieval period, between the 13th and 14th centuries. Because of this, many skeptics said that it did not come from the time of Jesus. But there were also some researchers who disagreed with the findings and said that it was possible the sample analyzed came only from a part of the cloth that was repaired after it was damaged before. Until now, the debate still continues. The story became even more complicated because it was nearly damaged by fire several times. In the 16th century, there was a big fire that left burns and holes in the cloth, which can still be seen today. After this, its protection was tightened even more. In 1997, another fire broke out in the chapel where it was kept. According to reports at that time, a firefighter had to break the thick protective glass with a sledgehammer to save the relic before the flames could reach it. Because of that incident, the fire protection and security systems around the shroud were further strengthened. And until now, it remains one of the most debated religious artifacts in the world. Because even though people are now using modern technology, there are still some mysteries that cannot be fully explained. No. 7. The Crown Jewels of England. Inside an old castle in London, there's a collection of jewelry and royal treasures, guarded like a military base. These are the crown jewels of the United Kingdom. You can find these in the Tower of London, a very old fortress that has been part of England's history for over 900 years. For a long time, this place has served as a palace, prison, execution site, and military fortress. But now, it is one of the most important places where royal treasures are kept in the whole world. The Crown Jewels collection includes crowns, swords, scepters, and other ceremonial objects used in the coronation of the King or Queen of Britain. In other words, these are the symbols of the power of the British monarchy. And according to reports from BBC and Reuters, the entire collection is estimated to be worth billions of pounds. But one of the most important parts of this is the imperial state crown. It is filled with precious gemstones, thousands of diamonds, emeralds, sapphires, pearls, and some of the most famous gemstones in the world. Included here is the Cullinan the Coon diamond, one of the largest polished diamonds owned by the British Crown. Meanwhile, the larger Cullinan, the first diamond, is attached to the sovereign's scepter. That stone is one of the largest clear-cut diamonds ever produced. Because of their immense value and importance, security at the Tower of London is extremely tight. There are thick steel doors, bomb-resistant walls, advanced alarm systems, and bullet-resistant display cases. But what's interesting is that it's not just modern technology guarding the place. There are also famous guards called yeoman warders, or more popularly known as beefeaters. They're the guards that tourists often see wearing red and black uniforms. But they're not just simple ceremonial guards. Most of them are former senior members of the British military who had long service before being chosen to guard the tower. And in the long history of the crown jewels, there have been several attempts to steal them. One of the most famous incidents happened in the 17th century. A man named Colonel Thomas Blood pretended to be a priest to gain access to the jewel house. According to historical records, they tried to steal the crown jewels and even smash the crown to make it fit in a bag while attempting to escape. But they were caught before they could get away. And what's even more surprising is that instead of being executed or imprisoned for life, King Charles II reportedly pardoned him. Until now, it's still a mystery to many historians why King Charles II did that. Until now, it's still a mystery to many historians. At present, millions of tourists visit every year to see the crown jewels. And even after several centuries have passed, it still remains one of the most important symbols of the British monarchy. Number 8, the Declaration of Independence. There is an old document in America that is not just an ordinary piece of paper. For many Americans, this marks the beginning of their country. This is the original Declaration of Independence of the United States. This document officially declared in 1776 that the 13 American colonies were separated from British rule. It also contains one of the most famous lines in American political history about the equality of people. Today, it is displayed at the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. Along with it are the original Constitution and Bill of Rights of America. For the American government, these documents are very important because the foundation of their country and laws are based on them. And because the Declaration of Independence is extremely important, its security system is almost like a science laboratory. It is placed in a special sealed case made of strong metal materials and has a controlled environment inside. The air inside the enclosure is not ordinary air. According to the National Archives, argon gas is inside because it is safer for the old parchment and ink. Humidity, temperature, and air pressure are also controlled to prevent the document from deteriorating quickly. But what happens at night is even more surprising. When the National Archives closes, The documents are gradually lowered using a hydraulic system into an underground vault beneath the building. That vault is fire-resistant, bomb-resistant, and heavily reinforced. In other words, it's like a bank for America's most important documents. In the morning, they are raised again for the public to see. Security throughout the building is also very strict. There are armed federal officers, motion sensors, environmental monitoring systems, and airport-style security checks for visitors. But the protection for the Declaration wasn't always this organized. In the early days, it was repeatedly moved to different places during wars and crises in America. During the War of 1812, it was hidden while British forces were burning Washington. When World War II came, it was brought to Fort Knox in Kentucky to protect it against possible attacks. Despite everything it has gone through in almost 250 years, most of the writing and signatures on the document are still readable up to now. And for America, the message of its extremely tight security is clear. They don't want to lose one of the most important parts of their history. Number 9, the Mona Lisa. Of all the objects on this list, this is the easiest to recognize. A woman, a small smile, and a painting that almost everyone in the world has heard of. This is the Mona Lisa by Leonardo da Vinci. You can see it at the Louvre Museum in Paris, France. But when many tourists see it in person, their reaction is often the same. Is it really that small? That's true. It's not as big as many people think. The painting is small compared to most of the artworks in the museum. But even though it's small, it's one of the most guarded paintings in the world. It's behind bulletproof glass. Bulletproof glass with controlled temperature and humidity is used to protect the old painting. There are barriers so people can't get too close. There are cameras, guards, and because thousands of visitors pass by every day, crowd control around it is very strict. But why is the security this tight? Because it has repeatedly been the target of theft and attacks. In 1911, the Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre. The one who took it was Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian worker who used to work there. He stole the Mona Lisa from the Louvre. The one who took it was Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian worker who used to work at the museum. According to historical reports, he was able to remove the painting. Historical reports say he took the painting from the wall, hid it, and left the museum. It was missing for over 2 years, during which the Mona Lisa became even more famous. People even visited the empty wall where it used to hang. Eventually, Peruggia was caught when he tried to bring and sell the painting in Italy. The Mona Lisa was returned to the Louvre, but from then on, the world saw it differently. It was no longer just a famous painting. It became a global icon. But the problem didn't end there. In 1956, someone threw acid at the painting. In the same year, another person threw a rock and damaged a small part of the paint. After those incidents, the Mona Lisa was protected even more using special glass. In 2009, a visitor threw a ceramic mug at the painting, but it only hit the protective glass. In 2022, a man smeared cake on the glass. While saying this was a protest about climate change, the painting wasn't damaged, but the message was clear. The more popular something becomes, the more people want to approach it, touch it, or make a scene in front of it. So now, it's like the Mona Lisa is imprisoned by its own fame. It's not just a painting on the wall, it's an irreplaceable object. This means that if it's lost or damaged, there is no exact replacement. A photo isn't enough. A replica isn't enough. A digital copy isn't enough. Because the Mona Lisa was made by the very hands of Leonardo da Vinci more than 500 years ago. It's a real object from a real era. That's why it's so strictly guarded here, not just because of its price, but because it's the only one in the world. And if the Mona Lisa is lost, it's not just a painting that's gone. One of the most important faces in art history will disappear. Number 10, the Star of India. There's a gemstone in New York that's incredibly beautiful, but it became even more famous because of an embarrassing museum robbery. This is the Star of India. It's a large star sapphire located at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City. It weighs over 563 carats. It's almost as big as a golf ball. But what's unique about it is that when light hits it, a 6-pointed star appears on the surface of the stone. It's like there's a star that moves as the light shifts. That's why it's called a star sapphire. According to the American Museum of Natural History, the Star of India is one of the most important gemstones in their collection. It is believed to have come from Sri Lanka, a country long known for its beautiful sapphires. In 1900, it was donated to the museum by the financier J.P. Morgan. But in 1964, a robbery occurred that changed the security of many museums in America. A group of thieves, including Jack Murphy, better known as Murph the Surf, broke into the museum at night. According to historical reports, they entered through a window that wasn't properly secured. Even worse, some of the alarm systems in the gem hall weren't working. That's how they got in, took the Star of India, and even managed to steal some other valuable gems. For a major museum in New York, that was a huge embarrassment. It wasn't just because the gemstone was stolen. It was also because the way the theft was carried out seemed so simple. It was like someone got into your house because you left the window open, but it didn't take long before the suspects were caught. And eventually the Star of India was recovered from a bus station locker in Miami. The good news is the gemstone wasn't damaged. When it returned to the museum, everything had changed. The glass case was more secure, the alarm was better, there were more cameras, and security around the entire gem hall was much stricter. Now it sits quietly on display in the museum, but its story has become a major lesson for the entire museum world. No matter how valuable something is, security is useless if a simple thing is neglected.